అందరికీ నమస్కారములు. Today is another good day for all of us that we are going to have another very informational and informative lecture from Dr. CSR Prabhu garu. He is known to all of us. Today he is going to cover the Nyaya Darshana in the series of Darshanams. We have already completed Vedas, and yesterday we had a topic on Vedangas, it is Panini Vyakaranam. Now we are starting with Darshanas. So now we'll start this webinar with Vande Mataram and then Prarthana. I request Challa Chittibabu garu to recite Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malaya Jasitalam, Sasya Syamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Suprajyosna pulakitayamini Pullakusumita drumadala shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura bhashini Sukhadam varadam mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. Dhanyavadamulanడి. Now let us request Anantanji to chant Prarthana.
Harihi Om. 1 minute meditation. Let us close our eyes. Relax the body. Total concentration on breath without any interference. Watch the breath like a person standing near a seashore, watching the waves. Three times Omkaram. गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् महागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामविद्र्यवतु वाग्देव्यै नमः। गुरुरेव गतिर् गुरुमेव भजे गुरुनैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोः मतिरस्ति गुरौ मम पाहि गुरो। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ नमस्कारः
ధన్యవాదములండి. Now let us request CSR Prabhu garu to start the webinar, please. Unmute చేయండి. Please unmute your mic. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक् प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमधो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोद निराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Today we will be covering the Nyaya Darshana of Gautama. A lot of people have been using the name Gautama. We have Gautam Mukherjee also here, but a lot of them don't know from where that name came. A lot of people think it is Buddha's name. It is not Buddha's name. Buddha's name was Siddhartha. So I want to ask you all a question. Why Buddha was known as Gautam Buddha? Does anybody know the answer? If you know the answer, you tell me now. He was known as Gautam Buddha because he belonged to the Gautama branch, Gautama school of thought, which is logic. So Buddhism is dialectical materialism. It is based on logic. And logic is what is the Gautama's work was, the Nyaya Sutras of Gautama. His book is the major textbook. It is written by Nandalal Sinha and M. Satish Chandra Vidya Bhushana way back in British times. And the context of Gautama is that he was belonging to Bihar. There is a very famous town in Bihar even today where he was born, but he lived in Andhra. So he lived in the banks of Godavari, and he did some miraculous interventions in bringing Godavari to its present position. Or before that, it was not like that. He achieved some miraculous or very big modification in the path of Godavari and made it a very fertile land and all that. So all the people there, they call Godavari as Gautami. So we have a train by the name Gautami Express. A lot of people don't know why it is called Gautami Express. So Gautama lived on the Godavari banks and Ahalya was his wife. and he was originally from Bihar. So he has names like Gautama and other names. Now, the interesting aspect to note is that the methodology of logical analysis which he proposed in terms of the proof, in terms of the pramanas, the theory of pramanas, that is valid knowledge, how something can be valid or invalid, on what basis. So this theory which he propounded is originally independent of the Vedas, Upanishads, etc. And at one stage, it was not considered as part of the Vedic lore of knowledge. And the interesting twist and turn that took place is that initially they have not accepted Gautama's methodology of Anvikshaki or logic or proof-based approach as valid. They said it is all non-Vedic or some such thing. And much later, after several hundreds of years or thousands of years, that was accepted as one of the darshanas, Nyaya Darshana, and therefore a Rupanga. All darshanas are Rupangas of the Vedas. Angas of the Vedas are 6. We have covered Vyakarana yesterday. Siksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Chandu, Jyotish. And once they are accepted as one of the Upangas of the Vedas, one of the darshanas, along with Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta, the 6 darshanas, then it became prominent and it started being used not only for independent logical analysis with proof based on Pramana theories, but also in interpreting the Vedanta. So after several hundreds of years or thousands of years, when Shankaracharya came into existence, he used the same Nyaya, which was once considered as outside the Vedic lore. He gave the justification of Vedanta Advaita Darshana through the same Nyaya. So he built a logical, what is called the propositional logic, argument-based, proposition-based, proof-based framework to explain Advaita. Normally, Advaita is considered as a spiritual experience or a philosophical thought until Shankaracharya came and gave a logical proof-based methodology to the Advaita Vedanta. What is that question, Murthy? So today we have the Advaita Vedanta being established as valid theory by means of a proof based on the same logic which Gautama has propounded. So these are the historical events. But coming into the subject matter itself, of course, he was also known as Akshapada, as a disciple of his Guru Soma Sharma, and this is mentioned in the Vayu Purana. And so the village where he was born, all that is treated out. And of course, there are some, this famous town of Chapra in Bihar. That is where the Gautama, the husband of Ahalya and the founder of Nyaya philosophy, resided in a village now called Godna at the confluence of the rivers Ganga and Sarayu, where a Sanskrit academy called Gautama Pathashala has been established to commemorate the great sage. So the town is Chapra and the village is Godna. Now the very first sutra of Nyaya Darshana starts with saying that Pramana Prameya Samchaya Prayojana Drishtanta Siddhanta Avayava Tarka Nirnaya Vada Jalpa Vitanda Hetva Bhasa Chala Jati Tigrahasthana Ram Tattvajnanat Vishresa Dhigamaha. So all darshanas are aiming at achieving the Vishresa or moksha. Like Vaiseshika also starts with a statement saying that Athatho dharma vyakhyasya yato abhyudaya nishresa siddhi sa dharma tadvachana damnayasya pramanyam. So we will talk dharma, and that which gives both progress and liberation is called dharma. And being the word of dharma, Veda acquires the pramanya or the importance of being a standard. So these are the Vaiseshika quotations. So in the Vaiseshika, dharma vishesha prasuta dravya guna karma samanya vishesha samvayanam padardhanam sadhan nivaidhamyabhyam tattvajnanam nishreyasam. So nishreyasam or moksha will be achieved with understanding of the matter and its interactions and motions and its properties, including motions, etc. By that, other words, by understanding physics, you will get moksha. That's what Vaiseshika another says. And here Gautama is saying, by understanding the nature of pramana, that is, what is a proof, prameya, the object of proof, samshaya, doubt, prayojana, purpose, drishtanta, example, siddhanta, theory or hypothesis, avayava, organs of the hypothesis, nirnaya, decision, vada, argument, jalpa, vitanda, which are the various forms of perverted arguments, hetva bhasa, chala is cheating, the jati nigrahasthana ram tattvajnana, by the understanding tattvajnana of all these different aspects of Nyaya, you will get Vishresa. Dukkha janma pravritti dosha michhajnanam uttarottarapaya tadantarapaya apavargaha. Pain, birth, activity, faults, and misapprehension. On the successive annihilation of these in reverse order, there follows release, moksha. Apavarga or moksha or release will come by reversing. That means by undoing or pain, birth, activity, faults, and misapprehension. Dukkha, janma, pravritti dosha, mithya jnana, uttarottarapaye. On the successive annihilation, one after the other. Tadanantara apayat apavarga. So misapprehension, faults, activity, birth, and pain. These are their misinterpreted, uninterrupted course constitute the world. So the world comprises of nothing but misapprehension, false perception, faults, activity, birth, and pain. So release or moksha consists in the soul getting rid of the world, is the condition of the supreme felicity marked by perfect tranquility and not tainted by any defilement. So moksha obviously is a state unaffected by any defilement and is a state of perfect tranquility, which is of course an impossible task for people who are living normal life in the worldly life. But for that purpose, the Nyaya, the entire Nyaya is being elaborated. Pratyaksha Anumanopmana Shabda Pramanani. What are the Pramanas? Pratyaksha, that is direct perception. Anumana, that is inference. And Upamana, that is comparison. and Shabda, that is the word, or the referential statements from the Vedas. These are called pramanas. Indriya Artha Sannikarsha Utpannam Jnanam Avyapadeshyam Avyabhichari Vyavasaya Pratchaksham. What is Pratchaksham? Perception is that knowledge which arises from the contact of senses with their objects, which is determinate, unnameable, and non-erratic. So seeing is believing, hearing is believing. So all these five senses, whatever perception is giving rise to whatever knowledge that arises from the contact of a sense with its object and which is determinate, unnameable, and non-erratic. Atha tatpurvakam trividham anumanam. So inference is knowledge which is preceded by perception and is now of three kinds. After perception, you perform an inference, and there are three types: a priori, a posteriori, and commonly seen. A priori is knowledge of effect derived from the perception of the cause. That is, one seeing clouds infers that there will be rain. And a posteriori is the knowledge of cause derived from the perception of its effects. That is, one seeing a river swollen infer that river there was rain. I hope you understood. And commonly seen is the knowledge of the anything that derived from the perception of another thing, which is commonly seen. Like one seeing a beast possessing horns infers that it possesses also a tail, or one seeing smoke on the hill infers that there is fire. So the third category is usually cited as an example for inference, but first two categories are also there. Prasiddha sadhanya sadhya sadhanam pamanam. Comparison is the knowledge of a thing through its similarity to another thing previously well known. Like saying your face is like moon. Aptopadesha shabdaha. Shabda is Shabda Pramana. Is Aptopadesha, that is, Apta is a person or a source who is reliable and who is well-meaning. Instructive assertion of a reliable person. A reliable person, one may bear Arya or Mlecha, who is an expert in a certain matter, is willing to communicate his experience on it. So it doesn't matter if it's Arya or Mlecha, but as long as he's going to vouch. Sadvividho drishtadrishtvatvat. Atma sarirendriya ardha buddhi mana pravrityo precha bhava phaladukha praveyam. Now these are the pramanas admitted by Gautama, but of course in the later Nyaya Shastra, there are many more pramanas. So these present pramanas are only Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. And Upamana also, 4. Whereas in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, only 3 pramanas are admitted: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, Pramanali. So here one more is Upamana is also accepted. Similarity, comparability with something known. And these pramanas, the Nyaya Shastra is a Pramana Shastra. Pramana means proof or valid knowledge, epistemology. So to apply these methods on the objects of the world is the prameya. The prameya are the objects to which these pramanas are applied. Atma sarirendriya artha buddhimana pravritti dosha precha bhava aladukka apavargastu prameyam. That means Atma, soul, body, senses, objects, intellect, mind, activity, fault, and transmigration, fruit, pain, and release. Release, moksha are the objects of right knowledge. The objects of right knowledge are also enumerated extra as substances, quality, action, dravya, guna, karma, samanya, visesha, generality, particularity, and samavaya, intuitive, intimate relation. and non-existence, that is abhava. This is the Vaiseshika perspective. So Nyaya and Vaiseshika are hand in hand, they are coupled together. Ichha, Dvesha, Prayatna, Sukha, Dukha, Jnanani, Atmano Lingam. So now the proof of existence of the Prameyas. Of course, Nyaya Darshana is a Pramana Shastra, Vaiseshika is a Prameya Shastra. Desire, aversion, volition, pleasure, pain, intelligence are the marks of the soul. How do you say that the soul exists? Because you have desire, hatred, and volition, that is prayatna, sukha, dukkha. So who is feeling all these things? That is soul. Geshendriya ardhasumha sariram. Body is the site of gesture, senses, and sentiments. We have defined what is body, what is atma. Grana, rasana, chakshu, stotra, tvak, slotrani, indriyani, bhutebhyaha. What are the senses? 5 senses. We know what are they. Prithvi, apas, tejo, vayu, akashamiti, bhutani. So corresponding to the 5 senses, there are 5 bhutas. This is the Sankhya perspective. In the Sankhya, they have not accepted the existence of material substance except the sensory stimuli that come from the 5 senses. That's why these 5 senses correspond to 5 Panchabhutas. Gandha, Rasa, Sparsha, Sabda, Prithivya, Guna, Tadatha. So each one of these bhutas have their own properties. Prithvi has all the properties of Gandha, Rasa, Sparsha, and Shabda. And one by one it will be reduced for the others. Like Akasha has none. And Vayu has only one. Sparsha, one Vayu. Buddhi, Upalabdha, intellect. What is intellect? Intellect, apprehension, and knowledge, these are not different from one another. So he considers knowledge, intellect, and apprehension as one and the same. Yogapadjana Anupattihi Manaso Lingam. Now, what is the proof of Manas? The mark of mind is that they do not arise more acts of knowledge than one at a time. So, one at a time, it is impossible to perceive 2 things simultaneously. Perception does not arise merely from the contact of sense organs with its object, but requires also a conjunction of the mind. So it is not that only the sense organs are able to perceive the objects, but mind is also required. Pravritti vag buddhi sharira arambhaiti. Activity is that which makes the voice, mind, and body begin their action. Pravartana rakshana dosha punarutputtihi pretya bhavaha. Transmigration means rebirth. Pravritti dosha janitordha phalam. What is phalam? Fruit is the thing produced by the activity and faults. What is dukkham? Pain. Badhana lakshanam dukkham. Pain has the characteristics of causing uneasiness. Tadatyanta vimokshaha apavargaha. And the total cessation of all pains is release. Release is the absolute deliverance from pain. What is doubt? Samana aneka dharmotpatte vipratipatte upalabdha anupralabdhayam. Vishesha apeksho vimarshaha samshaya. Doubt, which is conflicting judgment about the precise character of an object, arising from the recognition of properties common to objects or properties not common to objects, subjects, from conflicting testimony and from irregularity of perception and non-perception. This is doubt. So what is prayojana? Purpose? Purpose is that which an eye to proceeds to, and yamardhamite atikritya pravartate tat prayojanam. For what purpose you are doing all the anything, any action in this world has to have a purpose. There is a purpose behind everything. If somebody is doing something, there is a purpose behind it. So what is Drishtanta Laukika Parikshanam Yasmin Ardhe Buddhisatyam Sa Drishtanta? The example is comparing with well-known common things. Tantradhikara Abhyapagama Samsthiti Siddhanta. What is Siddhanta? Tenet is a dogma resting on the authority of a certain school, hypothesis, or implication. So Siddhanta, like Advaita Siddhanta, these are the Siddhantas which are belonging to a particular school of thought or hypothesis or its implication. Sarvatantra, Pratitantra, Adhikaranam, Abhyapagama Samsthita, Yathantra Bhasa. The tenet is of four kinds. To distinction between a dogma of all the schools, a dogma peculiar to a single school, or a hypothetical dogma and an implied dogma. There are so many categories of Siddhantas. Sarvatantra Viruddha Tantre Adhikate Atyadhas Sarvatantra Siddhantaha. A dogma of all schools is a tenet which is not opposed by any school and is claimed by at least one school. A dogma peculiar to some school is a tenet which is accepted by similar schools but rejected by opposite schools. A hypothetical dogma is a tenet which is accepted, if accepted, leads to the acceptance of another tenet. And an implied dogma is a tenet which is not explicitly declared as such, but which follows from the examination of particulars concerning it. And this Pratijna, syllogism, has the organs proposition, reason, example, application, and conclusion. So when somebody makes a Pratijna, it has all these components. First is inquiry into the proposition, Jijnasa. And second is questioning the reason, Amshaya, and Samshaya, and the capacity of the example to warrant the conclusion, Saksha Pravritti, and then purpose, Prayojana, and finally, Samasya Avidasa, dispelling all questions. So it is something like a PhD thesis defense. Somebody makes a proposition and he has to defend it. It is called defense seminar. So Udaharana Sadharmya Sadhya Sadhanam Hetuhu. The reason is the means for establishing what is to be established through the homogeneous or affirmative character of the example. So he formally defines and goes on like this, and ascertainment, or what is called the Nirnaya, Vivrishya Pratipaksha Praksha Nirnaya. So the ascertainment is removal of doubt and the determination of the question by hearing both the opposite sides. So why we call Nyayadhish or Nyayalai of a court is that these mechanisms are used in the dispensation of justice. Then what is Vada, what is Jalpa? So it goes on like this. So this is very intricate subject. That's why it is called Anvikshaki, microscopic analysis. So I have given you some kind of an introduction to Nyaya Darshana. Nyaya Darshana is a very vast subject that is not possible to cover in half an hour or 1 hour. It will take many months to understand. And Nyaya Darshana, Nyaya Shastra, or Anvikshaki, different names, Tarka Shastra, all are same. So they're all finally aimed at establishing the validity of a statement or proof of a hypothesis or a tenet, and accepting that as valid. So obviously all the acharyas, starting from Shankaracharya, they have tried to apply the Nyaya Darshana features onto their own siddhantas because none of the Siddhantas can be 100% self-established. It is a hypothesis, and it is sought to be proven by a certain type of arguments or by certain type of methodologies. So the methodology followed by both sides, the opponents and the proponents, have to be same. So by following the methodology, they will reach a final conclusion. And Adi Shankaracharya had the privilege, or he achieved something is impossible. He defeated in this Nyaya Darshana sequence of arguments, the arguments of Bauddha, Jaina, Charvaka. And there were no Christians and Muslims or Jews at that time. So he, in India, in his lifetime. So he defeated whosoever existed and established Advaita as a supreme Siddhanta, and for which he was declared as Jagat Guru in Kashmir. So I have concluded the Nyaya Sutras of Gautama in a very brief introduction. Then we also have a system called Navya Nyaya. So that is the Prachina Nyaya is by Gautama, but Navya Nyaya is by recent scholars, where there are things like relations and avachedaka, delimiter. They are more like computer science. Avachedaka and avachedikatva and sambandha, various types of sambandhas. Basically, the sambandhas are the joining or inherence, that is samavaya, sambandha, and conjunction, samyoga. Samyoga is joining, samavaya is inherence. So all this are explained in the Navya Nyaya, which is a living tradition in Bengal once again. So Bengal is very great. So I suggest those who are in Bengal to contact Navya Nyaya scholars and how it can be used in computer science. Many books have come, many papers have come. In Gangesha, Mahamahopadhyaya, who lived in Kasi around 14th century or 16th century, 14th. He is number one who brought in the Navya Nyaya, modern logic, and it continued till today. And some research has been done on how to integrate Navya Nyaya with computer science, logic, and so on. So that way, artificial intelligence, computer science, they are based on logic, and some of these things are, the concepts are utilized. And De Morgan's theory, De Morgan's laws, that is, the relationship of and or and nor. So these nor gates. So these things have been developed, and the basic binary logic, yes or no, was actually originally propounded by Pingala. It is Chandas Shastra, which is one of the Vedangas. I told you about Vedangas, Padadis, Vyakarna, and Pingala's Chandas Shastra, where he has shown the 0-1 kind of logic. And that has been taken by Western mathematicians like De Morgan. And some of the principles of logic were adopted. And therefore, we have the De Morgan's laws. And A not A, and A or B, or A and B, and AND, that is OR gate, AND gate, NAND gate. And NAND gate is the basic gate for designing any gate or any circuit in computational hardware, VLSI design. So friends, we have shown how the foundations of logic were the basis for mathematics and computer science and modern logic. Of course, in the Western world, it's Aristotle who is ascribed with all logic. And then finally, Today we have artificial intelligence, which is also based on logic. Any course in artificial intelligence has a chapter on logic. And of course, they use Western logic, but it is closely connected with Indian logic. And artificial intelligence is based upon making the machine computer perform logical inferences, deductions, and dogmas and theories to arrive at conclusions. Yes, he's the same person as per the historical. This book also contains certain amount of historical descriptions. So all these great rishis whom we revere in the Shastras, they appear in suddenly in some historical context in some Purana or some conversation like Janaka and Ashtavakra Samvada. Janaka was also in Mithila. Mithila is also in Bihar. And Ajatashatru court, Svetaketu or another fellow going there and declaring. So Ajatashatru was in Bihar again. That is where the, what is it called, that place? I went there, where Buddha also lived. Rajgir. Rajgir is the place where Jarasandha lived and Buddha lived, and also Ajatashatru ruled. And that is where this one of the Upanishad characters went, and there's a description. And of course, the court of Janaka and Ashtavakra Samvadam is also mentioned, and some of the other Upanishad characters are found in Brahmavarta near Rajasthan, Rewari, the border of Rajasthan and Haryana, where I went. And all these are Uddalaka. Uddalaka's house is there. He's a character in Upanishads. I think he was the father or teacher of Nachiketa from Kathopanishad. I want to conclude the lecture here. If you have any basic questions, you ask me, and we'll conclude the session.
Okay, Dhanyavadamulu, Prabhu Garu. Now, thank you for giving good time for question answer session. All those who want to, first we'll take chart questions. I think most of them are being addressed, but nevertheless, let us review.
There's a question on, kindly explain Nyaya Shastra and Tarka Shastra distinction.
No, they are same. In fact, there's Annam Bhatt who wrote Tarka Sangraham. So Annam Bhatt was a Telugu person. That Tarka Sangraham, he has covered Pramanas, Prameyas and all that. They are same actually. There are many names are there, Anvikshakis and other things.
There are no questions on the chat box now. There is one question which has come just now. In Bengal, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar had doubts on logics of Vedanta, whereas late Swami Vivekananda established Vedanta again. Who started the Navodaya in Bengal? You refer.
Navya Nyaya. Are you referring to Navya Nyaya?
I think I'll just. Gautamji, you can unmute yourself and talk.
You told referred to Navodaya in Navodaya logic system or something like Bengal.
No, Navya Nyaya. Navya Nyaya.
Navodaya structure.
Navya Nyaya is a living tradition in Bengal. So you can contact the Sanskrit departments. There is a P.R.E. Paul in the Jadavpur University Philosophy Department. So Navya Nyaya is a continuity or living tradition of Bengal, and that is different. That is more close to computer science and so on. I told you Avachedaka and relations and other things.
Thank you.
There is a question on kindly explain about syllogism.
Syllogism, yeah. I already explained today what is syllogism. This is there in this book. I suggest you all read this book if you can. So syllogism is a process of Nyaya Shastra. Yeah, the syllogism contains the proposition, reason, example, application, and conclusion. That is the parts or members of syllogism. Avayava. Proposition, reason, example, application, and conclusion. Proposition, for example, this hill is fairy. Reason, because it is smoky. Example, whatever is smoky is fairy, as in the kitchen. So his application is so also in this hill being smoky. Conclusion, therefore, this hill is fairy. Fairy means having fire. So this is the syllogism. Next.
The other question is why we always discuss Ramayana and Mahabharata, but when there are so many other avatars of Vishnu.
No, in the Bhagavad Puranam, there are 24 avatars given. And Kapila is also one of those 24, and Dattatreya is there. Even Pruthu Chakravarti is there. So if you study the Bhagavad Puranam, you will find all the 24. There are other Puranas which are describing other avatars also. Ramayana and Mahabharata became very prominent because of the historical importance in society. Other avatars are not so prominent because they were not having so much of impact on society in terms of a world war or in terms of a huge emperor or some such thing being involved. So you can study our vast literature where other avatars are also described in other Puranas. Any other question of any other topic?
The other only clarification was that is syllogism is Panchavakya Pramana.
No, this is yeah, that's true. Both are same, yeah.
Okay. I think that's the end of the questions on the chat box.
Okay, and I have unmuted everybody, so please.
Now, the interesting point to take note is that our Sanatana Dharma framework, any Acharya, when he proposes a Siddhanta, it will be subjected to Nyaya analysis, arguments on both sides, and only then after the successful passing of the test, it will be accepted as valid, otherwise no. And if you apply this methodology to other religious dogmas outside the Sanatana Dharma, except Buddhism and Jainism, which also follow this, and therefore they were defeated by Shankaracharya at that point of time. All others don't follow this. They simply say, this is what we want to say, and you accept it. If you don't accept it, we'll kill you or we'll put you in jail. This is the kind of approach they take. So that's why our Sanatana Dharma alone, and of course Buddhism, Jainism included, is logical and scientific, whereas all others are just blind belief or force based approaches and methodologies. That is the great strength or very greatest asset we have with us.
Okay.
There is no scope for any challenging or questioning or syllogism or proof or any such thing in other dogmas outside Sanatana. They just want you to believe what they say, what is written there. And if you don't do that, it will be amounting to blasphemy. And they have blasphemy laws to put you in jail or to kill you also. So that is how it works, or it doesn't work. So today, in the day of science, in the age of science, so you can see where we stand and where they stand.
How do you
And that is
compare?
why, more than say 60% of the Americans and even some many percentage of Europeans have given up their respective religions for the same reason, because there is no proof or there is no logical basis for whatever is being believed. But in the Middle Eastern countries or the Islamic countries, they continue with the same position by force, by tremendous amount of force. The blind belief system continues. And in Western Europe and America, it has given it is gone. 50%, 60, 70% gone. And even the existence of God or non-existence of God. In fact, that's where the Buddhists and Jains differ. They don't accept the existence of God. Therefore, they don't accept the authority of Veda. And Shankaracharya has established the Advaita Siddhanta in consonance with the Shruti, the Veda and the Upanishads, using the same Nyaya Shastra or the proof system. That's all.
Yeah. Any other questions? See, how do we compare this old Sanskrit document on Nyaya Shastra with the modern, law books?
Yeah, there the similar techniques are used. Just now I told you syllogism. So the steps, Panchavayavas, 5 steps. So the modern law books or Indian law has been derived from the Hindu law on one side and the British English law on the other side. So if you go by the previous historical analysis, so those Hindu law books were based on the Manusmriti on one side and Nyaya Darshana, Nyaya Shastra techniques being applied. And English law, on the other hand, was derived from the Roman jurisprudence. And Roman jurisprudence, if you go back to the prehistoric times, was also derived from Manusmriti. And so, historically and prehistorically, these original law systems were derived from the same sources. On one side, Manusmriti, like a constitution of the world at that time. And all those who followed Manusmriti are known as Manavas. Manu, Manava. If you don't follow Manu, then you are not a Manava. You may be Rakshasa or something. So Manava itself, Manava short form is man. The word man in English is nothing but short form of Manava. So Manava is a person who follows Manu, that by grammatical etymology. So that constitution on one side and the logic on the other side, Nyaya Darshana, they both were combined together in deriving the Hindu law before the British established their laws. And the Hindu law was being implemented in India by the kings under the jurisdiction or control of the Shankaracharyas of different regions, north, south, east, west, Sringeri and all that. That is why there, even I have seen the will written by Shankaracharya, where he has given which countries or which kingdoms should come under which Shankarvat, like which come under Sringeri, which come under Puri, all the local kingdoms. So the law is implemented there. And Shankaracharya is supposed to be an authority above the kings. So he used to have a crown also. The Shankaracharyas of Sringeri and other places can be seen wearing a crown, and the kings going and sitting at his feet. Kings belonging to that area. Is all before the British period, or even before the Mughal period, or wherever Mughals were not there. The law was implemented as per the Manusmriti or Hindu law, and later Smritis also came. We have many Smritis, many laws. Even today, the inheritance laws in Indian law were carried down from the previous laws. In Bengal, they had what is called Hitakshari or something. I don't remember the exact name. So the traditional laws and Babru, different periods, different people wrote the law system. Manu is the oldest, but later we had many others coming and rewriting the law. There are some myths are also there. Their smritis are there, like Vyajyavalkya smriti is there, and many other smritis. So those laws are defining the punishments for crimes, criminal law, as well as the property inheritance laws, as well as the living do's and don'ts, who should do what, and which marriage is valid, which marriage is not valid. For example, intercaste marriage is not valid sometime back, not today. So suppose 100 years back, before the present laws came, the previous laws, intercaste marriage is not permitted. But if you go back to Manu's time, intercaste marriage was permitted for Anuloma but not Viloma. Anuloma means the boy is from higher caste and the girl is from lower caste. So Viloma is not permitted. So if Viloma marriages take place by love marriage and other reasons, they are boycotted. They are sent out of the city or town or village. They have to live outside. And such people became the untouchables, scheduled caste. For example, the word Chandala is used in Manusmriti for a marriage, children born out of a marriage, where the girl is from a higher caste, say Brahmin, and the boy is from a lower caste, say Sudra. So the children born to them are called Chandalas, scheduled caste, what we call in modern constitution. So they were extricated, they were dismissed from the society. And whosoever has not followed the laws, either they were punished by jail or by killing, or of course in extreme cases only killing is used. Otherwise jail, or they were excommunicated, sent out Desa Mahishkara or Grama Mahishkara. So those who are sent out were called as untouchables. They are the present day scheduled caste. And the valid Anuloma marriages, children born in those are valid, like Kayasthas. Even Vivekananda belonged to the Kayastha caste. All the names like Mitra and Bengal, those Kayasthas, or even Saxena in UP and all that, they are all valid, accepted Anuloma marriages, that the man is from higher caste and woman is from lower caste. And that is valid. And for example, a Brahmin can marry 4 wives from 4 castes. In Veyi Padagalu, the Dharma Rao is there having 4 wives from 4 castes, and their children are valid. And even Bhakti, Vikramarka, Vararuchi, these people are born out of different caste marriages. Vararuchi was born out of Vaishya, Vikramarka was born out of Kshatriya, and like this. So the Anuloma marriages are valid, and they are upper caste. They are Kayasthas and others. Whereas below marriages are boycotted, excommunicated. They are the scheduled caste. I'm talking of very ancient past, not today. And the laws go on changing, and different periods, different laws came by different lawmakers. And finally, we have today the modern law. After all these changes, it will also change. Uniform Civil Code is coming. Okay, have I answered your question?
Yeah, and you have answered in a great detail.
Which is my prerogative.
There is a question from Anandarav.
సార్ నమస్కారం సార్.
Yeah.
సార్ న్యాయశాస్త్రంలో న్యాయము అనేటువంటిది ధర్మం మీద ఆధారపడి ఉంటుందండి?
అంటే ధర్మం అన్నా న్యాయం అన్నా రెండు ఒకటే అనేటువంటి ఇంటర్ప్రిటేషన్ కూడా ఉన్నాయి. అంటే ఇప్పుడు ధర్మాసనం, if you look at the court bench, in Telugu it is called ధర్మాసనం, and court is known as Nyaya. So both are synchronizing. And dharma, what is dharma? Is originally Veda itself was proclaiming dharma. Then they had dharma shastras like Manudharma Shastra, and later on the revised dharma shastras. And today we have the Constitution of India, which is the modern dharma shastra. And the processes used in the text, the courts, are the modern Nyaya shastra. There are common factors, but there's a lot of change in evolution, as I was just explained. So what is the other question?
The question was, what was the logic of not following the Viloma marriages?
Yeah, that is genetic reasons are there. So you ask them, not me. I did keep. So caste is based on genetic engineering.
Yeah.
Okay, the word Nyaya is used for both logic and justice. Is it right?
Yes, because logic is used in the dispensation of justice. In the dispensation of justice,
Logic.
originally the kings were dispensing justice. In the court of the king himself was the magisterial, having magisterial powers. Today the district magistrate will have them, or the magisterial court will have them. So like for example, today in the sessions court, district magistrate, the judge will have those powers, and the district collector and the district magistrate is also known as district magistrate. He also has judicial powers. So he can pronounce certain punishments or give some solutions based on a particular procedure. And that procedure is based on the Nyaya Shastra. Hearing the arguments on both sides and comparing and then analyzing, then arriving at a conclusion. All that process. We remember Maryada Ramanna was there. He was doing this in the recent past, a few hundreds of years ago. And before that, the various judges, and of course in the Western world, they have the jury who do this. Yeah, Nyaya Shastra and Dharma Shastra are different. Dharma Shastras are like constitutions. Nyaya Shastra is a procedural Shastra. What are the steps you should take in arriving at a decision, conclusion, or judgment? So the procedure is given in Nyaya Shastra. But the Dharma Shastras are giving the rules and regulations. What is correct, what is not correct. Then we have to apply the Dharma Shastra to a given situation. You might have seen this Maryada Ramanna episodes where two persons, like, two ladies come and say, this child is mine. One child is there. So what will Maryada Ramanna do? Then he'll say, I will kill this child and give you 50-50. You take it. Then one of the ladies said, no, don't kill him. So he decided she is the real mother. So this kind of settlements, which are done by following a particular procedure, that procedure is given in the Nyaya Shastra. Dharma Shastra is like constitution or the code of conduct, criminal code of conduct, our criminal procedure code that is there in the Dharma Shastra. What you should do when somebody perform theft, or what you should do somebody perform murder, what you should do somebody eloped, and all various possibilities, the punishments, criminal procedure code of conduct. And then of course we have the civil procedural code of conduct in terms of the inheritance, in terms of the divorce, in terms of the disputes, property disputes, or contested parties. Basically, between two warring parties, there is a resolution to be achieved. So you have to apply the law and use the procedure of the court or the Nyaya. That is how it is. Both are add in it. You understood, no?
Yeah, I have
Questions are over.
one more question.
Yes.
And you see, in Sanatana Dharma, there are in olden Sanatana Dharma is applicable throughout. No, it is indefinite. So there are some justice is there, dharma is there, which has been permanent. Now, our constitution also specifies some dharma or rules which we follow now. So I was just trying to see, we are saying that, follow Sanatana Dharma and also follow Constitution of India today. So is there any sort of differences in these two?
Yes. You see, what you have to understand is the time factor. In the sense, today, our Manusmriti is our constitution. You cannot say today you follow Manusmriti because it is totally different. It is a time sequence of evolution. For example, caste rules or the duties, what should Brahmana do, what should Kshatriya do, what should Vaishya do, is given very explicitly in the Manusmriti. In Constitution of India, no such things. So this is Kali Yuga, and that too present modern age. So things are different. We have to accept the reality today. So when you say follow Sanatana Dharma, we are not saying follow Manusmriti, don't follow Constitution of India like our Sharia law, and they say don't follow modern law, follow Sharia law. Islam, we are not saying like that. So we are saying only the modern law should be, Constitution should be adopted. Not only the Constitution, but all the criminal procedure code and company law and this law and that law and various laws are there. So they only those laws are operative, not Manusmriti, right? And after Manusmriti, we had Yajnavalkya Smriti, and we had some other Smriti, and we had some other Smriti. Babru Vahana wrote one, another fellow wrote one, another fellow wrote it, because a huge, long history of 5,000, 10,000 years. So at that time, that was valid. That was implemented by force of law, by force of the power of the king. But today, this is being implemented by the force of law, by the force of the power of the king, which is who is that dandam which Modi recently was handling. So that is the power of the king, dharma dandam. So that's what it is. And as regards the spiritual matters, it's a different story, because this constitution and other things are secular. They don't talk about your spiritual interests or spiritual duties or responsibilities, correct? So dharma dvividha pravritti lakshano dharma nivritti lakshano dharma. Shankaracharya says in the very first sentence of his commentary to Bhagavad Gita. So it is of two types, pravritti and nivritti. So nivritti marga, which is the spiritual development, the Constitution of India, Criminal Procedure Code don't come into picture. So that is where our Sanatana Dharma, the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Brahma Sutras, and the Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, all these things come into picture for your spiritual development towards moksha. So the Constitution of India doesn't talk about moksha. So it talks only of dharma and maybe karma to some extent.
Yeah. You see,
So
sorry,
Go ahead.
please go ahead.
So what I am saying is that there are some common principles. This is a very important point. There are common principles which are common between the pravritti and nivritti, like truth, non-violence, non-stealing. They are mentioned in the Yamaniyamas of Yoga Darshana. They are also mentioned in the Manusmriti. They are also in the court of law today. You go to any court, anywhere in the world, stealing is punished. Asteyam, it is called. Non-stealing is a fundamental principle. 5 principles: Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Aparigraha. These five are universal, sovereign, eternal principles. They are present in every religion, every court of law, every country. Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Aparigraha. Brahmacharya means adultery is punished by death in China today. Adultery is punished by something else in Arabian countries. In India also adultery is punished. Brahmacharya. And Asteya, stealing is punished everywhere. And truth, that is cheating, fraud, forgery, perjury. These are all punished in all courts in all countries. And violence, all types of violence, except the violence by law, by the police, by the military, is punishable. So, aparigraha is accumulating things at the cost of others, is also indirectly punishable through tax and other things. So, these five principles are existing throughout the globe as dharma principles, which are valid in both secular and spiritual domains. But other things like jnana yoga vyavasthitihi, get enlightenment, it is not the concern of the courts of law or the Constitution of India. Or things like compassion. Compassion is given in the directive principles of state policy in the Constitution. Like Gora, protection of the cows, cattle, all that is given as directive principle. So, like basic principles like liberty, equality, justice, they are there everywhere. They are there. They are the basis of democracy. They are the basis of constitution. Okay.
Actually,
Anything else?
in military, we have a sort of saying that local orders supersede all army orders. I mean, higher orders. So the local commander says, okay, do this, means do this. If you don't do this, you will get punished.
Correct.
But later on you can always say, no, army order says this, army act says this, section so and so. Then you can fight it out and then of course win or something like that, or may not win because still the local commander prevails. So in the same way, our constitution takes precedence over if there is any conflict between this and Sanatana Dharma. It looks like that we follow our constitution and then think of what Sanatana Dharma does.
So as I told you, these five basic principles are common, both in Sanatana Dharma as well as modern Dharma, modern constitution or modern law. So now some advanced things may not be there. Spiritual matters, personal evolution may not be there. So if you want example, moksha is not considered at all. And if you say give up desires, give up anger, giving up anger is part of the giving up violence. In fact, in Manusmriti, akrodha is given instead of ahimsa. So the higher order abilities or behavioral principles given in the niyamas as against the yamas, or the higher order daivi sampat, they are more higher order principles. And so there is no contradiction. That's the point I'm trying to make. If there is a contradiction, there is a problem.
Yeah. So Sanatana Dharma, what we are discussing is Sanatana Dharma as applicable for today.
Yeah. See, the constitution and laws of courts of law, and all these are limited in their domain to the pravritti lakshana, your social behavior. That's all they are concerned. They are not concerned about your personal development, personality development, or spiritual development, or achieving moksha. Whether you achieve moksha in this life or next life, you will be born again or not. They are not concerned. Whereas we are concerned about all those things. So Gautama's Nyaya also, he has talked of not being born again, all that.
Thank you,
There
sir.
are a few questions on the chat box.
Yeah.
One is, what are the rules about the consanguineous marriages in Sanatana Dharma based on genetic engineering?
No. This is all past. Don't dig up past. There's no use in digging up past. So go be in the present.
Then what is the sanctity of Senegal? Is
Yeah,
it,
that is it is equivalent of Dharma Dandam.
okay.
Every king was given one Dharma Dandam. He's upholding Dharma. He is supposed to uphold the rule of law and Dharma in both Pravritti and Nivritti to the extent possible as per the directions of the Shastras and as per the directions of the wise men, the jury. So if he doesn't follow that, the king fails to deliver justice, he will be removed and another person will be brought as king.
The other question is, in democracies like US, the church still holds some sway, laws on abortion, child custody, etc. Okay, it's, I think, a statement.
Yeah. That's it. See, originally the church was ruling the entire thing. In fact, the birth of Christianity was by Constantine, the Roman emperor, who declared that Jesus is the God, Son of God, and he should be worshipped in place of Son, S-U-N, Son. So it is all the Roman Catholic Church was ruling Rome and European countries and the entire Europe at one point of time. So later they became independent churches, Protestants. So the word secular came in that context. When the government became independent of the church, the government was secular. That is not the scenario in India. It's a totally different scenario. So it is meaningless to import those things here. So they have their own scenarios. Now, of course, they are all secular. But even now, the King of England declares himself allegiance to the Church of England, which is Protestant Church. The Archbishop of Canterbury is the head of the Protestant Church. I met him when he came to Hyderabad. So now the modern day democracy is independent of church. That is what it is supposed to be.
Thank you, sir. We
Right.
had a very interesting and informative session, especially question answer session. And also earlier we had a introduction to Nyaya Shastra. Thank you very much. And now we will have a little interaction with the students because we have another 10 minutes. After that, we'll have Prarthana and Janaganamana. So anybody wants to interact with me on anything?
Mahodaya, I have a very personal question. You have interacted with many people from many religions, right? In your army position itself. Do they all actually believe in their religion, the others? When there is actually, when you say, Son of God came down to earth and all, do they actually believe? Personal, this is not academic question, but do people actually believe in their God like that? Or are they forced to believe?
As far as the soldiers are concerned, they are allowed to believe any religion of their choice, in the sense that if a Christian soldier wants to go to church, so he's allowed. There is a church in every unit, so he will go and pray. In the same way, other religions also. So there is no restriction that you follow the religion which you belong to or you believe in. But as far as the commanders are concerned, the commanders means who has the responsibility to command a group of people which belongs to all religions, which comprise of all who comprise of all religions. Then he should not, when he talks to them, he should not talk about only one religion.
Okay.
He should not. He should be, in our words, secular.
Can you wear your signs of your religion, like your Jane, what is that, Punal, or can you wear? Can you wear vibhuti? Can you do Sandhya?
Till the time it is not visible, uniform is uniform for everybody.
Okay.
There is no change in that, except
Can
that
you?
Sikh people can wear turban. That except those exceptions. Otherwise, everybody should wear uniform only. But things like Jandiyam
Red.
is inside, is not visible.
Okay, so the thread on the hand is not allowed. The raksha which you can wear, kalva or raksha, whatever you call that. Okay,
That
Tirupati you wear
also,
thread.
if you want to put, some raksha on the hand is okay. No problem.
Okay, you're not allowed
Because,
to wear tilak and
religion is allowed. But if you say, I start, I'm going to, what do you call it?
Shabarimala.
In Sabarimala, I'll start wearing black clothes. That is not allowed.
Okay.
And also wearing beard is also not allowed in army, but in navy it is allowed because of circumstances.
Okay.
That is, they are in the high seas and things like that.
Okay. Dhanyavad.
Okay, so any other questions? We have another still 5 minutes. We are going to have some, I'm interested in knowing whether you people are interested in taking the exam or you don't want to take the exam. What?
When is the exam?
No, well, first
The annual
question
exam.
is no. First question is, you want to take an exam or not?
Yes, in that way we actually sit and revise and read something, because what we listen, it is there, but it is not, you're not sharpening it. When you
So
have an
you
exam,
want the exam,
yes, I think I
right?
would go.
That's what he wants.
I
How
would.
many
Right.
people don't want exam? Just, you can, raise your hand digitally. Don't want exam.
But don't think
Excuse
that
me,
it will not be
sir.
there.
We want exam.
Somebody, Signan is not there, is there. Srinivas,
Yeah.
he says, no.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
We
చెప్పండి.
want exam, but sometime we want, not
Okay.
early. Like not early, sometime. At least 1 week time we want.
1 week advance notice.
Yeah,
Advance notice after finishing the class.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay,
10
and
days time.
yeah, there are 2-3 people who have exam fever. Why you don't want exam, Satish?
Yeah, basically, as I also last time pointed out in level 1, there are some things which are, details which doesn't carry any importance, but we are supposed to look into those details and mug up for the exam. That is one of the things.
Do you mug up for exam, or you understand the subject?
No. Some things like if you see the timelines or the sequence of things or sequence of people existence, right? So those things are lesser important than the actual content or the essence of the total Sanatana Dharma. So whereas when it comes to exams, these things were taking precedence. So that's where I felt.
What you are saying is that you will be forced to learn something which you may not like to learn.
Correct. See, my importance goes to the essence of it than the actual sequences and the timelines and the actual names of the people, right?
Okay.
Can I just,
unless you are expert in the subject, you will not know which you are supposed to learn, which you are not supposed to learn.
That's true. So,
Babu Garu, I have a question on this,
Yeah, tell me.
If, for example, the person who is coming and teaching, he comes only with the essence. He teaches the essence and leaves. Do you have questions or you don't have questions?
we'll have questions on the essence, right? Yeah,
Fine.
we'll have
So
questions on the essence.
here comes.
Yeah.
So for a person to teach, he teaches what all a student is supposed to know. Okay, knowing is essence. And once you know the entire thing, then you get the essence. Without knowing the entire, you can't get the essence. So this is where the basic question comes, that you should know all those things which the teacher is teaching you. he is teaching you not just because he knows, so he wants to teach. No, he is teaching only because he expects you to know all these things in a logical sequence so that you understand the entire subject and then you carry the essence. So
Okay.
this is the logic.
Yeah. So if that is the expectation, then I cannot challenge.
Right. No,
Yeah.
there's no question of
Yeah.
challenge. It's a logic. We are
Yeah.
today talking on Nyaya Shastra, so this is the logic.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
Prabhu
good one.
Garu, I think if he's listening, he can give me 10 marks more.
Okay, already alerted.
Okay, thank you. I
Right.
could convince somebody.
One person at least. Others
Yeah.
still there, who have raised the hand but shied away and put it off.
Yeah, I'll lower it. Okay, Satish.
And
I think-
exams keeps us alert and can judge our commitment.
So it's more like Dharma Shastra versus Nyaya Shastra. So
Without knowing Dharma, you can't do Nyaya.
of course, so that's why I was looking at Dharma. So you want Nyaya also to be
Nyaya is the essence.
yeah.
Unknowingly, you are aiming at Dharma,
Yeah.
but outwardly you think that you wanted only Nyaya.
Oh, okay. My understanding was Dharma was the essence and Nyaya is the procedure, as Prabhakar Garu saying. So I was not keen on Nyaya. So that's okay.
Okay. Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice, good discussion. And
Yeah. Thank you.
One sentence or word type of exam or scenario-based exams make some sense. The improvement, some Jhansi is saying, asking year of occurrence. Okay, in number of slokas in a Purana or something. Don't test the knowledge what Satish is asking. So she's giving some clarification on what Satish is trying. She is trying to interpret Satish. Okay, good. That is also to some extent.
Just
Now,
now, I have a break 1 minute.
I want to say something, sir.
Yeah,
Sharada. Yeah. Both are okay for me, but I want to say one thing. So here, everybody knows now why they have joined here, what is the purpose of it, and what to do and what not to do. Anything, anyway, they know it, and they came for learning only, getting the knowledge. What it should be in practice. It should come under practice, and it should show the way of life. They should digest it properly, and they should put into the practice. That is the main purpose of that Sanatan, getting the knowledge of Sanatan Dharma and getting various subjects related to that. That is what my opinion is. So it should be put into practice properly, and that's how it happens is by listening to those lessons, by getting the proper knowledge of all those various subjects related to the dharma, and what is the proper understanding clearly and properly about that Sanatan Dharma and other Dharma Shastras. That is mainly important, and exam is secondary. What I feel is your alertness and your towards that getting the knowledge and digesting it is mainly necessary. And here people have come and joined to learn that only. Okay, anyway, they can easily, they go through all the subject means not purely that like academics and all. They should have that knowledge, proper knowledge and clarity in the subject, and know the dharma, which should be put into proper practice. It should be applicable application. It should comes under application. So that is how we have reformed, how we have elevated from the present state when we have joined here. That is the main criteria. So how
That
much
should-
we have
you mean to say
developed
that should-
ourselves.
You mean to say that should be tested?
Yes, sir. That's what everybody, every conscious knows that very well. Okay, we are learning this dharma, and
Okay.
it should be practiced, and we should become a role model to our younger generation. Why we are learning these, all this, getting the knowledge and learning all these shastras is, if any younger generation, if we say something, this is good, this is bad, and you should not do like this, and you should do this. If we say that, if they ask somebody some logic about that, we should be in a position to answer them. So that is the main criteria. But so we have to get the good knowledge of all the shastras and dharmas. What we should have some clarity. We should have some clarity on our Sanatana Dharma. Why at all we are practicing this, and we are getting the knowledge, and why we are implementing all these things. We are practicing this for our betterment only. We are only getting benefit out of
Yeah.
that.
Well said,
We are the
well said,
beneficiaries.
Sharada garu. Well said.
Mm.
Now, can we go
That
for
is that.
Prarthana, please?
Right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Add
Anantanji.
some. Shall I proceed, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I proceed to join? One thing I want to tell, sir.
Oh.
Is it okay, sir?
Because we are running over time. Okay, quickly.
Sir, nothing. Sanatana Dharma, we should know, because it is our main function, main lashyam of this course. So we should be in a position to defend ourselves in whichever manner we are facing any problem from. It may be a threat from other religions. So by being here in India or Bharata Desham, we should know our dharma first. Then only we will get dhairyam to face the threats being posed by other religions, which are sometimes adamant. But we are able to. We should be in a position to defend them in proper explanations. That's what our Sanatana Dharma says, and then what we are gaining by attending this Sanatana Dharma course, sir. That's what I feel, sir.
Agree with you. Agree, definitely. Ananthan garu.
Yeah. ఆయనే చెప్పింది ఇప్పటిదాకాను. So now he wants to go with the ప్రార్థన. Go ahead, sir.
ఇప్పుడు దాకా చెప్పింది వేరు. ఆనందరావు గారు ఆయన ఆనందరావు గారు.
ఆనందరావు.
అనంతన్ గారు, go
Okay.
ahead.
అనంతన్.
What happened, Ananthan garu? You are not being heard.
ఓం స్వస్తి ప్రజాభ్యః పరిపాలయంతాం న్యాయేన మార్గేణ మహిం మహిషాః గోబ్రాహ్మణేభ్యః శుభమస్తు నిత్యం లోకాః సమస్తాః సుఖినో భవంతు కాలే వర్షతు పర్జన్యః పృథివీ సస్యశాలినీ దేశోऽयं క్షోభరహితః బ్రాహ్మణాः సంతు నిర్భయాః అపుత్రాః పుత్రిణः సంతు పుత్రిణः సంతు పౌత్రిణः అదనాः సదనాः సంతు జీవంతు శరదాం శతం సర్వే భవంతు సుఖినః సర్వే సంతు నిరామయాః సర్వే భద్రాణి పశ్యంతు మా కశ్చిత్ దుఃఖ భాగ్ భవేత్. ఓం అసతో మా సద్గమయ తమసో మా జ్యోతిర్గమయ మృత్యోర్మా అమృతంగమయ. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. ఓం పూర్ణమదః పూర్ణమిదం పూర్ణాత్ పూర్ణముదచ్యతే పూర్ణస్య పూర్ణమాదాయ పూర్ణమేవావశిష్యతే. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. హరి ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. హరి ఓం సర్వేభ్యః నమస్కారః.
ధన్యవాదములండి అనంతన్ గారు. Now let us recite Janaganamana. Let us all stand up.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद
जय हिंद। ధన్యవాదములండి. చాలా చిట్బాబు గారు.